Are your gels not curing? Let's talk about it. Okay, so the first reason that your gels might not be curing is your light may not be compatible with the gels that you're using. Now, our lights are a 48-watt light, and I think a lot of times people think that the wattage is the only thing that they need to be concerned about. But there's actually more to it. You want to make sure that you're using a light that has the correct spectrum. Our lights have a spectrum of 365 nanometers to 405 nanometers, so it's a pretty wide range. So this light itself is going to cure all of our different gel products. It's going to cure our fiber gel, it's going to cure all of our hard gels, as well as our tip and jewel adhesives. So having that wide range and that wide spectrum is going to fully ensure that your gels are going to cure. So make sure that, again, your light is compatible with the gel that you're using. We also have the Touch Cure light. The Touch Cure light does have the same curing spectrum, but it is going to be a little bit of a different way of curing. So let's talk about the different lights here that we've got. You want to make sure that you're using the correct light for the correct task you're trying to accomplish. Now, if you're trying to, say, cure a full hand, all of the nails, everything cured all the way through, that's when you're going to generally use the full UV LED light. If you're wanting to only cure maybe one nail, maybe you're working on design work, maybe you're working on full cover tips, that's where you're going to be using the Touch Cure light. So that one you're only going to be using on one nail at a time. When you're working with the Touch Cure light, you want to make sure that you are getting that whole nail underneath there. You're not going to be using this to cure all 5 nails. It's going to be way too complicated to get all 5 nails fully cured. So this is only going to be for one individual nail at a time. And again, you want to make sure that you are getting that light in contact with the whole nail surface all the way around. So you may need to actually rotate the light itself, or you may need to rotate the finger to make sure that that light comes in contact with the whole surface of the nail. Now, as I'm showing you here, I have my nail about maybe 2 inches away from the light. You actually want to keep the nail about 6 inches away so that you don't build up too much heat on that nail. So when you're using the Touch Cure light, keep it a little farther away, but again, you may have to rotate, you may have to move that nail, or you may have to move the light to ensure that you are coming in contact with that whole nail. If you're only keeping that light, maybe right now I have the majority of the light right on the top half of my nail, that back half may not be fully curing because that light isn't coming in full contact. So again, the Touch Cure light is going to be more for freezing designs into place, maybe setting your gel so it doesn't move, it doesn't run, and also for setting those full cover tips so that they don't move. And then for that full cure, that's where you're going to go ahead and use the full UV LED light and place the whole hand in there. Okay, so let's talk about hand position within the light. So if we take out that base plate and we take a look at the light itself, you're going to notice that there's lights all the way through the center here, and then there are a couple of lights along the side. Okay, we want to make sure that we're positioning the hand in the light so that all of those lights are going to be able to come in contact with the nails. So a lot of times what can happen is maybe you don't have the hand positioned correctly and the light isn't actually able to hit those nails. So a lot of times what people tend to do is maybe they don't put their hand in all the way. Okay, if we don't put our hand in fully, the thumb especially is not going to get enough contact with the lights. Even that pinky might not get enough contact with the lights. Now these 3 in the center, those are going to be, again, a little bit more centered in there. Those are probably going to cure just fine. But if you're having issues with either your pinky or your thumb curing, it could be that you don't have that hand in far enough. We've got that little ledge on the back. Kind of position maybe the back edge of your hand or your client's hand right on that little ledge, or even maybe just kind of at the base of your thumb, positioning your hand in that far. So that way the light is going to fully cover all of those nails. Okay. Now the other thing that people tend to do is, especially the thumb, people tend to have a lot of issues with curing the thumb. Do you see how my thumb is angled down on the side? The bottom of my nail is not actually going to get hit with that light because it's turned on the side. So you always want to make sure that you're keeping your thumb a little bit more flat rather than angled on the side so that the light has a better chance of hitting that nail surface, okay? Another positioning that people tend to do in the light is they tend to just put their hand in very comfortably and very relaxed. So if those fingers are angled like this, again, the light from the top is not gonna hit evenly through the surface of the nail. So we have to make sure that those fingers are positioned flat through here, and again, tilting that thumb up a little bit up on the side. One last thing that people tend to do when they're positioning their hand in the light is sometimes they actually put their hand in too far. So if you have that client who says, or you have to remind them, put your hand a little farther into the light because maybe they're just right on the edge, then they tend to go too far. And first of all, they're gonna ding the end of their nail on the base or on the back side of the light. But if they go too far in, again, you can see those bulbs don't go all the way to the back. They do stop right up through here. So if your hand is that far back into the light, again, you may not be getting that even coverage of the light to the nail. So again, making sure that the hand is centered in that light, flat fingers, and your thumb is tilted upwards. That's going to give you a good even cure through all of the nails. Now, if your client can't actually turn their thumb up, then you may have to cure the thumbs separately on their own. And for that, I like to bring the plate to the edge of my table so that the client can just set their thumb fully in like that, nice and flat. But most of the time, clients, as long as you let them know, they can tilt their thumb up. So the next challenge that may be causing your gel to not cure properly is not using the right time. So on our light here, we have our 10, 30, 60, and 99-second settings. So when you press that button, it's going to count down from the 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or 99 seconds, depending on what button you're using. A full cure for all of our gels, whether it's the fiber gel, hard gels, gel polishes, all of our gels will cure fully in that 60-second timer. Okay, that's what you're going to use the majority of the time, again, for that full cure. Now, like we were talking about with the touch cure light, that is for freezing things into place. So again, if you're doing design work, if you're doing a full set and you maybe want to stop your product from moving, that's going to freeze it into place. That's the same thing that you can do with that 10-second button. That's not going to be a full cure. It's just going to basically stop your gel from moving. It's going to set it into place. After that, you still need to do a full 60-second cure to make sure that that gel has cured all the way through. Same kind of thing with that 30-second timer. It's just for freezing things into place, setting them so that they stop moving, and then you can continue on maybe to another nail. The low heat mode is the 99-second. So if you're using the 99-second, this is actually not full power all the way through. So when you use the 99-second or the low heat mode, it's actually going to start at a lower power. It's going to go to about 30 seconds and then it's going to increase the power. And then it's going to go to 50 seconds and it's going to increase the power again. So as it continues to raise that power, it's increasing the cure. Now, you want to make sure that the reason that you would use that low heat mode is so that you don't have an instant heat spike, especially when you're working with hard gels or if you're applying gels, those clear gels a little bit thicker, they tend to have a little bit of heat to them. So by using that low heat mode, that is going to help to slow down the curing process. But the thing you have to know about that is that it's not going to fully cure in those first 60 seconds. Because it was on a lower heat mode, just saw that go up a little bit. Because it was on a lower heat mode, it is going to take that full 99 seconds to fully cure that product all the way through. So it's a great feature on this light, but do make sure that if you are using that low heat mode, that you are running it for the full cycle to get that full cure. One other thing that I always need to mention when it comes to curing, this is probably the thing that people tend to forget the most or not even really realize, but your curing light has a lifespan. Okay? This is not going to last you a lifetime of you as a nail tech or you in salon. This is going to last about a year. So we always recommend replacing your lights annually. And I always say do it at Black Friday for a couple of reasons. Usually on Black Friday, we have a great sale going on. It also keeps you on that same schedule. So you know every Black Friday, I replace my light. So that way you always know when it's time to replace it. And you usually get a good deal on our sales. The other reason that I recommend replacing it around that time of year is because during the holidays, that's when you're usually busier in salon. You're usually booked a little bit more back to back. You don't have a lot of extra time in your schedule to bring in clients for nail repairs and things like that. So if your light is losing its lifespan and it's not curing your gels as fully, you may start to have issues with that product chipping, peeling, and maybe not having the highest shine on your top coats. Those are all good indicators that your light is losing its lifespan, or it's getting to the end of its lifespan and needs to be replaced. And again, during those busy holiday times, you don't have time to get those clients in for repairs and to have them have issues with their nails. So replacing your light before you start having those issues is a great option, and again, keeps you on schedule for always having a good quality light working for you. What I always like to do is I will actually write on the bottom of my light when I either opened it or when I started using it, because that way I at least have an idea of when I ordered it. I had a light issue where something wasn't curing right, and in my head I thought it had only been maybe about 6 months to a year that I had gotten the light, but I actually looked up in my records and found that it was about 1.5 years. So I didn't even realize that my light was getting old, so that's when I started actually writing on the bottom of it, so I know exactly when this light went into use. So that way there's no question, and that way again you can replace annually. Now, one other thing that I want to talk about is especially with gel polishes or pigmented gels. Now, our new gel polish line is absolutely fantastic. It is very highly pigmented. So when you're working, especially with darker colors, a big challenge that people tend to have is they try to apply their gel polish too thick or try to do it in one coat. But if you try to apply one thick coat, there's a good chance that your gel polish may not cure all the way through. Now, I'm also going to do kind of a combination of some things that people tend to not do quite right. So on this nail, I'm going to show you guys. I'm applying this pretty liberally. And again, this is what we don't want to do. The other thing people do, like we've already talked about, is they only cure it for a short amount of time. So if we were to only cure this for 10 or 30 seconds, this gel polish is not going to cure all the way through because again, it's too thick, it's very pigmented, and we're not fully curing it. So what can happen is you're going to end up with uncured gel under that surface layer. So let's go ahead and cure this out for another 10 seconds. So now at this point, we've got that thicker layer on there. We've only cured it for 30 seconds. That top surface is cured, but you can actually see it's a little bit spongy. So that top surface is cured, not fully cured, but it's cured, but underneath is not fully cured. So again, if you were to go, it looked like it was cured. So if I were to go in with another coat of my gel polish, trying to keep that really consistent color, that really dark, rich color, I polish over a second coat and again cure that for a short amount of time, maybe 30 seconds. Again, we have another layer that is going to be cured on the top, but there's going to be uncured gel in between. And again, with those really highly pigmented gels, that light isn't going to be able to get all the way through that top layer to finish curing that bottom layer. So this is where you're going to end up having that uncured gel in between. So you want to make sure instead of trying to put on one thick coat, you're going to do two very thin coats. And I'm going to show you that here. So when you're polishing on your gel polish, what I like to do is I'm going to wipe the back side of my brush out fully. So I've got a little bit of product on the front side. I tend to like to start a little ways away from my cuticle area, brush that out a little bit so I don't flood the cuticle, push that back to the cuticle, and then just drag that brush forward with a good amount of pressure so you're not floating that product on. And once you get that good even coverage, I actually like to wipe out the excess from my brush, go over my color one more time just to make sure that it's smooth and even, but I don't have that excess product on there. You should almost be able to see through that product, and you can kind of see right through the end there. that you can actually see through that just a little bit. That's going to tell you that it's the proper thickness and you're not applying it too thick, okay? Just because you can apply this in one coat doesn't mean that you should. Now, for curing, again, we want to go in for a full 60 seconds to cure that gel all the way through. Then we can go ahead and do our second coat, just the same as we did with this first one, and then we can top coat as well. Each curing for a full 60 seconds, as well as the top coat curing for 60 seconds. Okay, so again, we could go through and we could do a second coat with this one, but now this one you can see that I'm not actually denting it. It is fully cured. I am kind of moving the dispersion layer a little bit, but I'm not actually denting it. This one we have fully cured, but again, because we put our product on too thick, I can still squish that. And again, even though I did fully cure that for 60 seconds, that is still uncured gel underneath. So again, you want to make sure that you're fully curing and that you're not going to have that uncured gel underneath, okay? Now, one last bonus thing that I kind of want to talk about here. A little bit of confusion between a dispersion layer and actual uncured gel. Now, when you're working with gel polishes or a lot of hard gels, even our fiber gel, when they cure, they have a dispersion layer or a sticky layer on the top that does not cure. It's intended to be there because when you go to put your next coat on, that is what's going to adhere to that next coat. Gel does not like to stick to a smooth or a shiny surface, so your gel has to have that dispersion layer to grab onto the next coat. Now, our gel underneath is fully cured out. It's just that little bit of uncured gel on the top that's not. So I just want to make sure that you're not confusing an uncured nail with a dispersion layer. So just understand that most gels do have that dispersion layer. It is there for a reason to grab onto the next layer of your gel polish or your other hard gels. Hopefully you're not having issues with your gels curing, but if you are, this video is going to help you fix those issues and you're going to have successful gel applications.